Did you know Clint Eastwood halted production on this buddy cop thriller to attend Cannes, that the film features a controversial rape scene that sparked heated debate, and that Puerto Rican and Brazilian actors were cast as Germans with questionable accents? From a tragic on-set death witness to a world record-breaking stunt crew, this overlooked action flick is packed with bizarre behind-the-scenes stories that rival its explosive on-screen chaos. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about The Rookie, 1990. Fact 1. Studio hostage deal gone wrong. Clint Eastwood didn't want to make The Rookie. In fact, he only agreed to direct and star in this buddy cop action film because Warner Brothers essentially held his passion project hostage. Eastwood had spent years trying to get funding for White Hunter Black Heart, a deeply personal film about a director's obsessive quest to hunt an elephant in Africa while making a movie. The project was based on John Huston's troubled production of The African Queen, and it meant everything to Eastwood as a filmmaker. However, Warner Brothers executives weren't interested in bankrolling what they saw as an uncommercial art film about filmmaking. They wanted another crowd-pleasing action movie from Eastwood, something that would guarantee box office returns. So the studio made Eastwood an offer he couldn't refuse. They would finance White Hunter Black Heart, but only if he agreed to direct and star in The Rookie first. It was essentially a ransom payment for artistic freedom. Eastwood reluctantly accepted the deal, knowing that making a formulaic action thriller was the price he had to pay to bring his passion project to life. The irony is that White Hunter Black Heart, the film Eastwood fought so hard to make, ended up being a critical success but a commercial failure, while The Rookie, the movie he was forced to make, also bombed at the box office. Warner Brothers got 2 financial disappointments instead of 1 guaranteed hit. Looking back, this deal represents one of the most unusual arrangements in Eastwood's legendary career, where a major star had to make a movie he didn't believe in just to earn the right to make the movie he truly cared about. Fact 2. Production stopped for Cannes Film Festival. In the middle of shooting The Rookie, something unprecedented happened. Clint Eastwood literally stopped production on the film and flew to France, leaving cast and crew waiting in Los Angeles while he attended the Cannes Film Festival. The reason for this expensive interruption was White Hunter Black Heart, the passion project that had motivated Eastwood to make The Rookie in the first place. The film was being screened at Cannes in May of 1990, right during the production schedule for The Rookie. Eastwood made the decision to halt filming for 5 days so he could personally attend the festival and promote the movie he actually cared about. This wasn't a quick weekend trip. The production shutdown reportedly cost Warner Brothers an estimated $1.5 million in lost time, idle crew salaries, and delayed schedules. Equipment sat unused, sets remained empty, and Charlie Sheen and the rest of the cast had an unexpected break while their director was on another continent. For a studio already nervous about the commercial prospects of both films, this must have been an infuriating expense. But Eastwood had enough clout and leverage to make it happen. He'd fulfilled his end of the bargain by agreeing to make The Rookie, and now he was going to support the film that mattered to him, regardless of the financial consequences. The gamble didn't pay off commercially, as White Hunter Black Heart received respectful reviews but minimal box office returns. Still, the fact that Eastwood was willing to stop production on a $30 million action movie to promote a small art film shows exactly where his priorities lay during this period of his career. Fact 3. Charlie Sheen witnessed a deadly fall. During a break between filming scenes for The Rookie, Charlie Sheen experienced something no one should ever have to witness. A window washer working on a skyscraper above the production set lost his grip and fell 50 stories to his death, right in front of Sheen and other crew members. The tragedy occurred during a routine day of shooting in downtown Los Angeles. The production was working on street-level scenes when the horrific accident happened high above them. Sheen, who was between takes and waiting for the next setup, saw the man plummet from the building and hit the ground. The impact and aftermath were devastating, and the incident deeply affected everyone who witnessed it. Production was immediately halted as emergency services arrived and the area was secured. The window washer's death cast a dark shadow over the production, especially for Sheen, who had to process the trauma of witnessing such a violent and sudden death. Unlike the carefully choreographed stunts and special effects explosions that filled the rookie's action sequences, this was real death, unplanned and horrifying. What makes this incident particularly haunting is the contrast between the manufactured danger of movie making and the genuine risks that working people face every day. While the film crew was creating fake peril with stuntmen, safety harnesses, and carefully controlled explosions, a real person died doing his job just above them. There is no record of how long production was delayed or what kind of support was offered to those who witnessed the tragedy. But the incident remains one of the darkest moments in the rookie's troubled production history. A grim reminder that real life can be far more dangerous than anything Hollywood puts on screen. Fact 4. The controversial male rape scene. The Rookie contains one of the most controversial and uncomfortable scenes in Clint Eastwood's entire filmography. Eastwood's character, veteran detective Nick Polofsky, is handcuffed to a bed and sexually assaulted by Sonia Braga's character, Liesl, in a scene that many critics and viewers found deeply disturbing and inappropriate. The sequence plays out as a form of sexual torture, with Eastwood's character unable to consent or resist while handcuffed. What made the scene even more controversial was how it was filmed and presented. Rather than treating the assault as a traumatic violation, the movie frames it with an almost exploitative tone, focusing on Braga's character as a femme fatale rather than as a rapist. The scene includes nudity and is shot in a way that some critics argued was meant to be titillating rather than horrifying. Film author Howard Hughes didn't mince words in his assessment, calling it one of Eastwood's most distasteful scenes in his entire career. The criticism wasn't just about the content, but about the double standard it represented. Many observers pointed out that if the genders were reversed, with a male villain sexually assaulting a handcuffed female detective, the scene would have been universally condemned and likely never made it into a mainstream action film. The scene sparked debates about male sexual assault in cinema and how differently it's portrayed compared to violence against women. Eastwood never publicly addressed the controversy in detail, and the scene remains a troubling moment in an otherwise formulaic action movie. It's a reminder that even legendary directors can make questionable creative choices, and that 1990 Hollywood had very different standards about what was considered acceptable in mainstream entertainment. Fact 5. Hispanic actors cast as Germans. One of the most baffling casting decisions in The Rookie involved two of the film's main villains. Warner Brothers cast Puerto Rican actor Raul Julia and Brazilian actress Sonia Braga as German car thieves, a choice that left critics and audiences scratching their heads. Neither actor was German, neither looked particularly German, and their attempts at German accents ranged from laughable to non-existent. Raul Julia, who was a highly respected stage and film actor, tried his best with the accent, but his efforts were limited to pronouncing this as zis and that as zat, the most stereotypical German accent sounds imaginable. Beyond those basic substitutions, his accent wandered all over the map, sometimes disappearing entirely. Sonia Braga didn't even bother attempting a German accent at all. She played her character Liesl with her natural Brazilian inflection, apparently deciding that if the casting made no sense, there was no point in pretending otherwise. Critics were merciless in pointing out the absurdity of this decision. Why would a major studio film cast two Latin American actors as Germans when there were plenty of actual German actors available? Some speculated it was an attempt to capitalize on Julia and Braga's star power in certain markets, while others suggested it was simply lazy casting that prioritized name recognition over authenticity. The decision becomes even stranger when you consider that the character's German background is actually important to the plot. They're supposed to be part of a sophisticated European car theft ring, but the casting completely undermines any credibility the characters might have had. It's the kind of Hollywood casting choice that makes you wonder if anyone involved actually watched the final product and thought, yes, this works perfectly. Fact 6. World record stuntman to actor ratio. The Rookie holds a distinction that perfectly captures its priorities as a film. It set a Guinness World Record for having the highest ratio of stuntmen to actors of any movie production up to that time. The production employed 87 stuntmen compared to only 37 credited actors, creating a ratio of more than 2 stunt performers for every single actor. Some reports suggest the total number of stunt professionals involved was even higher, with over 80 stuntmen working on various sequences throughout the shoot. This wasn't just about having a large stunt team. It represented a fundamental approach to filmmaking where the action sequences and physical stunts were considered more important than the actual performances or story. The numbers tell you everything you need to know about what kind of movie The Rookie was trying to be. For comparison, most action films of that era might have 20 to 30 stunt performers for a cast of 50 or more actors. The Rookie flipped that ratio completely upside down. The record reflected the film's ambitious and dangerous action sequences, which included car chases, explosions, plane collisions, building crashes, and numerous fight scenes. Every major action beat required multiple stunt doubles, precision drivers, high-fall specialists, and fight choreographers. The production was essentially a massive stunt showcase wrapped around a thin buddy cop plot. What makes this record even more interesting is that it came at a time when practical stunts were reaching their peak in Hollywood, just before CGI would start replacing many dangerous physical stunts. The Rookie represented the old-school approach to action filmmaking, where if you wanted to see a car explode out of a building, you actually exploded a real car out of a real building using real stunt performers risking their lives to make it happen. Fact 7. Major stunts done in one take. Special effects supervisor John Fraser revealed something remarkable about The Rookie's most dangerous and expensive action sequences. Every single major stunt in the film, including some of the most complex and costly practical effects ever attempted at that time, was successfully completed in just one take. This included a car exploding out of a building, a massive carrier truck overturning at high speed, and the climactic collision between 2 actual airplanes. Getting these stunts right on the first attempt wasn't just lucky. It was the result of meticulous planning, precise engineering, and nerves of steel from the stunt performers and effects team. Each of these sequences could only be done once because they involved destroying real vehicles and sets worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. There were no second chances. If something went wrong, the production would have to rebuild everything from scratch at enormous expense and delay. The car exploding out of a building stunt required carefully calculated explosive charges, precise timing, and a stunt driver willing to be inside a vehicle that was literally being blown through a wall. The carrier truck overturn demanded expert driving and engineering to ensure the massive vehicle flipped exactly where and how it was supposed to without killing anyone. The airplane collision, which we'll discuss in more detail later, was perhaps the most dangerous and expensive single stunt, involving 2 real aircraft being destroyed in a controlled crash. Fraser's revelation highlights the incredible skill and preparation that went into The Rookie's action sequences. In an era before computer-generated effects could save a botched stunt, everything had to work perfectly the first time. The fact that Fraser and his team pulled off these one-take wonders is a testament to the professionalism and expertise of Hollywood's practical effects masters in the 1990s. Fact 8. Real planes collided at 100 miles per hour. The climactic action sequence of The Rookie features one of the most dangerous and expensive practical stunts ever filmed for a Hollywood movie. 2 real airplanes were deliberately crashed into each other at high speed, creating a spectacular explosion that was captured in a single take with no computer-generated imagery. The setup for this stunt was incredibly complex and risky. A stationary Hansa jet was positioned on the runway, held in place and ready to be pulled by a 150-foot steel cable. Meanwhile, a Convair 880, a massive commercial airliner, was accelerated down the runway toward the stationary jet at 100 miles per hour. The timing had to be absolutely perfect. As the Convair approached at full speed, the Hansa jet was yanked by the steel cable to position it exactly where the collision needed to occur. When the two aircraft made contact, 10 gallons of gasoline exploded on impact, creating a massive fireball that was captured by multiple cameras positioned at safe distances around the runway. The explosion was real, the destruction was real, and the danger was absolutely real. If anything had gone wrong with the timing, the cable system, or the explosive charges, the entire stunt could have become a genuine disaster. Stunt pilots were not inside either aircraft during the collision, but ground crew and camera operators were close enough to feel the heat from the explosion. The cost of destroying two actual airplanes for a single shot was enormous, reportedly costing hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the aircraft alone, not counting the planning, safety measures, and camera equipment. This stunt represents the absolute peak of practical effects work in Hollywood, the kind of real-world destruction that would be replaced by CGI in movies just a few years later. Fact 9. Charlie Sheen's substance abuse problems. Behind the scenes of The Rookie, Charlie Sheen was struggling with serious personal issues that affected the production. According to the book Clint Eastwood, A Cultural Production, Sheen had significant substance abuse problems during the early stages of principal photography. This wasn't just rumor or speculation. It was documented by observers close to the production who noted changes in Sheen's behavior and reliability during filming. At the time, Sheen was riding high on his success from films like Platoon and Wall Street, but his off-screen life was becoming increasingly chaotic. The late 1980s and early 1990s were a particularly troubled period for Sheen, marked by heavy drug and alcohol use that would continue for years. On The Rookie set, these problems manifested in various ways that complicated the production. While the book doesn't provide explicit details about specific incidents, the mention of substance abuse problems during early filming suggests there were challenges with punctuality, performance consistency, or on-set behavior that the production had to work around. Clint Eastwood was known as a no-nonsense director who ran efficient sets and expected professionalism from his cast and crew. Having to deal with a lead actor struggling with addiction must have been frustrating, especially on a film Eastwood didn't particularly want to make in the first place. It's worth noting that Sheen has been open in later years about his struggles during this period of his life, acknowledging the damage his substance abuse caused to his career and personal relationships. The Rookie ended up being just one of many productions affected by Sheen's issues, though the film's poor reception and box office failure had more to do with its generic script and controversial content than with Sheen's performance or off-screen problems. Fact 10. Box office bomb against Home Alone. The Rookie was supposed to be a guaranteed hit. It had Clint Eastwood, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, directing and starring alongside Charlie Sheen, a hot young actor fresh off major successes. Warner Brothers invested $30 million in the production, expecting strong returns from an action-packed buddy cop thriller released during the lucrative Christmas season. Instead, the film crashed and burned at the box office in spectacular fashion. The Rookie opened in December of 1990 in third place, earning only $21.6 million during its entire theatrical run. That meant Warner Brothers lost money on the film, failing to even recoup the production budget, let alone cover marketing and distribution costs. What makes this failure even more embarrassing is what beat The Rookie at the box office. The #1 film during its opening weekend was Home Alone, a family comedy about a kid defending his house from burglars using cartoon-style booby traps. The #2 film was Misery, a psychological thriller based on a Stephen King novel. Both films had significantly smaller budgets than The Rookie, but connected with audiences in ways that Eastwood's formulaic action movie simply couldn't. The juxtaposition was almost comical. While The Rookie offered car chases, explosions, and a controversial rape scene, Home Alone offered Macaulay Culkin putting paint cans on doorknobs, and audiences overwhelmingly chose the latter. Critics were equally unimpressed with The Rookie, calling it generic, violent without purpose, and a waste of Eastwood's talents. The film's failure was a rare stumble for Eastwood, who had been one of Hollywood's most reliable box office draws for decades. It proved that even legends can make miscalculations, and that audiences in 1990 were growing tired of mindless action movies that offered nothing beyond explosions and stunts. Fact 11. Expensive exotic cars. Destroyed. The Rookie's car chase and action sequences weren't just about crashing old junkers and worthless vehicles. The production destroyed an astonishing array of expensive, exotic, and classic automobiles that car enthusiasts still mourn to this day. The casualty list reads like a luxury car dealership's inventory. A Ferrari Daytona, one of the most beautiful and valuable sports cars ever made, was wrecked during the filming. A Porsche 928, Jaguar XJ, and a vintage gull-wing Mercedes-Benz 300 SL, a car that now sells for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction, were all sacrificed for the sake of action sequences. The production also destroyed a Cadillac Allante and a Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit, vehicles that represented the peak of luxury and engineering in their era. These weren't cheap replica shells or stripped-down stunt cars designed to look expensive. Many of them were actual functioning luxury vehicles that were purchased, modified for stunts, and then deliberately destroyed through crashes, explosions, or other mayhem. The decision to use real exotic cars rather than replicas or cheaper alternatives was partly about authenticity and partly about the plot. The villains in The Rookie run a sophisticated car theft ring that targets high-end vehicles, so showing them stealing and destroying cheap cars would have undercut the premise. Still, watching these beautiful machines get smashed, blown up, and demolished is painful for anyone who appreciates automotive history and craftsmanship. In today's Hollywood, many of these vehicles would be created using CGI, or at least replicated using fiberglass shells over cheaper car frames. But in 1990, practical effects meant real destruction, and real destruction meant destroying genuinely valuable automobiles that can never be replaced. Fact 12. Eastwood performed dangerous stunts. At 60. Clint Eastwood has always been known for his toughness and willingness to do his own stunts, but The Rookie pushed this tendency to remarkable extremes. At 60 years old, an age when most action stars have long since handed over dangerous sequences to younger stunt doubles, Eastwood insisted on performing legitimately hazardous stunts himself. One of the most dangerous involved racing a Chevrolet Blazer through stop-and-go traffic in a complex chase sequence that featured 20 other stunt drivers, all moving in a head-on collision course formation. This wasn't a carefully controlled scene with wide safety margins. It was genuine high-speed driving through traffic with multiple vehicles approaching from different directions, requiring split-second timing and reflexes to avoid actual collisions. One mistake from Eastwood or any of the 20 stunt drivers could have resulted in a catastrophic crash. At 60 years old, Eastwood's reaction time and physical resilience weren't what they had been in his younger days, making the stunt even more dangerous. The insurance companies covering the production must have been terrified every time Eastwood climbed behind the wheel for these sequences. But Eastwood has always believed that audiences can tell the difference between a star actually performing stunts and obvious stunt double work, and he was determined to maintain that authenticity even in a movie he didn't particularly want to make. His willingness to put himself at risk at 60 years old demonstrates the professional pride and physical toughness that defined Eastwood's career. It's also a reminder of how different Hollywood was in 1990 compared to today, when insurance requirements and safety regulations make it nearly impossible for major stars to perform truly dangerous stunts regardless of their age or willingness. Fact 13. Originally planned as Dirty Harry 6. Some sources and film historians suggest that The Rookie had a fascinating origin story that was never officially confirmed, but makes a lot of sense when you look at the finished film. According to these accounts, the movie was originally conceived as the sixth Dirty Harry film before being reworked into a standalone buddy cop story featuring Charlie Sheen. The evidence for this theory is circumstantial but compelling. The basic plot structure of The Rookie, featuring a veteran cop who plays by his own rules, partnering with a younger, more by-the-book officer, fits perfectly with the formula that a new Dirty Harry film might have followed. Eastwood's character, Nick Polowski, shares many characteristics with Harry Callahan. He's cynical, violent, dismissive of bureaucracy, and willing to bend the rules to get results. If the script was indeed originally written as a Dirty Harry sequel, it would explain some of the film's stranger tonal choices and its heavy reliance on excessive violence and controversial content. The Dirty Harry franchise had always pushed boundaries with its violent content and morally ambiguous protagonist. Transforming the script from a Dirty Harry sequel into a new property would have required changing character names and removing specific references to Harry Callahan's history. But the core story and character dynamics could remain largely intact. What ultimately caused the change, if this theory is true, remains unclear. Perhaps Eastwood felt he'd exhausted the Dirty Harry character after 5 films, or maybe Warner Brothers wanted a fresh franchise that could potentially continue with Sheen as the lead in future sequels. Whatever the reason, The Rookie feels like a Dirty Harry film in everything but name, suggesting there might be more truth to this origin story than official sources acknowledge. Fact 14. Jazz score in the mullet era. The Rookie's musical score stands out as genuinely unusual for a 1990 action movie. While other action films of that era were dominated by synthesizer-heavy soundtracks, electric guitar wails, and pounding electronic beats, Clint Eastwood made the unconventional choice to give The Rookie a jazz score composed by his longtime collaborator, Lenny Niehaus. The soundtrack features prominent trumpet work, smooth saxophone lines, and the kind of sophisticated jazz arrangements you'd expect to hear in a noir thriller from the 1950s, not a buddy cop action movie from the era of mullets and muscle cars. This musical choice was completely out of step with contemporary action cinema. Films like Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, and Total Recall used bombastic orchestral scores or electronic music to pump up the adrenaline during chase scenes and shootouts. The Rookie's jazz score, in contrast, often created a strange dissonance between what was happening on screen and what was playing on the soundtrack. You'd see cars exploding and planes colliding while smooth jazz played underneath, creating an almost surreal viewing experience. Eastwood's preference for jazz scoring came from his personal musical tastes and his long collaboration with Niehaus, who had scored several of his films, including Bird, Eastwood's biographical film about jazz legend Charlie Parker. But while a jazz score worked beautifully in a film like Bird, or even in some of Eastwood's westerns and dramas, it felt tonally mismatched with The Rookie's over-the-top action sequences and violent content. The score is actually quite good on its own terms, but it belongs in a completely different movie, one with more sophistication and less cartoonish violence than what The Rookie delivered. Fact 15. Met Kurosawa at Cannes. During production. When Clint Eastwood halted production on The Rookie to attend the Cannes Film Festival, he wasn't just promoting Whitehunter Blackheart. He was also fulfilling a lifelong dream that connected him to the very origins of his film career. While at Cannes, Eastwood finally met Akira Kurosawa, the legendary Japanese director whose film Yojimbo had inspired the Sergio Leone Western A Fistful of Dollars, the movie that transformed Eastwood from a television actor into an international movie star. The meeting between these two cinematic giants was deeply meaningful for Eastwood, who had spent his entire career in the shadow of Kurosawa's influence. Yojimbo, Kurosawa's 1961 samurai film about a masterless Ronin who plays two criminal gangs against each other, had been directly adapted by Leone into A Fistful of Dollars without permission or credit, launching the spaghetti western genre and making Eastwood famous as the man with no name. The unauthorized adaptation had been a source of legal conflict, with Kurosawa successfully suing for royalties and recognition. But Eastwood himself had always expressed deep respect and admiration for Kurosawa's work, understanding that his own career was built on the foundation of the Japanese master's storytelling. Meeting Kurosawa at Cannes must have been a surreal, full-circle moment for Eastwood, connecting his past success with his present struggles. Here he was, stopping production on a movie he didn't want to make, promoting a passion project that wouldn't find an audience, and meeting the director whose work had inadvertently launched his career 3 decades earlier. The meeting reportedly went well, with both directors expressing mutual respect despite the complicated history surrounding their connected filmographies.